So I wanted to spend a few moments and tell you the story of where did this come from and how did we get into this room. I've had a strong affinity for schools for a long, long time, and for the state schoolers in the room, things like one portal, one school, computers for teachers, etc. are a legacy that I left when I was in that department. But I could only do that with the support of a guiding coalition of principals. So in October 2017, we had a principals breakfast. Springfield Land Corporation, as it was then, hosted regular breakfasts once a term for the principals. And as I'd been in my job 3 weeks, so I had to introduce and talk to the principals. And I thought, why not set the challenge? So I asked the principals 2 questions. Can we think differently? Can we work together differently? And to be somewhat cheeky, I said, when people give you a challenge, you should always ask yourself, are you good enough? And are you up for it? And so I left that day, fairly provocatively with those challenges to the group and their predecessors in front of us. A couple in the car park said they liked what they heard. A couple emailed me overnight. I remember our host, Angela Gooley, host today, sent me a one-line email that said yes and yes. So that's how we started. By 1 December of that year, this is 2017, a bunch of us got in a room for a few hours and said, what is the future of education? And we tagged the term Education 5.0. It was a bit of a takeoff of the 4th Industrial Revolution and Industry 4.0, which of course we all know we're living in now. And it's about connectivity of everything and the Internet of Things. So our watches don't just tell the time anymore, they take real-time health data from the people that are wearing them. And our cars won't swap lanes if it already knows there's a car sitting beside you, so that we're in this smart world. So we wanted to go beyond that for what does Education 5.0 look like? And we set ourselves that task. By March 2018, so only last year, we came together for the first time as the Learning Coalition, and we set ourselves some objectives and some hard targets. One of which was to develop a trusted network of principals. Sounds simple when you say it like that, but we didn't have that. Another was to share resources, to share data, so that as the community of Greater Springfield, who service 11,000 students, what can we do? And the third thing was, very ambitiously, host by the second half of 2019, which was a long way away then, some sort of festival or showcase to celebrate learning. The Learning Coalition's mantra is very simple, and we keep repeating it because we need people to grasp what it is that we do. We ask ourselves, what can we do together better than any one of us could do on our own? We all have a sphere of influence and a community that we serve. But together we have an enormous sphere of influence and community that we serve. The other mantra is, can we lower the boundaries between the schools and the learning providers and the university? And can we take things from the student's experience point of view? So always take the student's experience perspective as opposed to a supply perspective. And the one that was a leadership challenge to us all was, we all know that in the future the skill sets of problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration are what we are telling our students will be the valued skills in the next 5 years, let alone in the next 10, 15 years. So we asked ourselves, can we model that skill and behaviour to our students? By September last year, we'd signed a memorandum of understanding. All 11 principals, as they were then, and Maha Sinnathamby signed on the same page, a document that really was just a symbol of our commitment to each other. It's not a legally binding document, it's not contractual, our employers don't need to worry about that we're going to interfere with how schools are run. But it set the scene, and it's very symbolic for us that we, at that point, committed in writing to being a learning and leadership collective, which we named the Learning Coalition. By October of last year, we had set the dates for this week, and we'd created an event committee 1 year out. And in February of this year, when school came back, we publicly launched the Learning Coalition and we launched the Festival of Learning dates. So there was no turning back. So why a festival? We set ourselves the vision of a learning city, and Springfield Land Corporation originally, now Springfield City Group, have long held education as the core of this city, and we can see it every day, everywhere we go. So we had to describe to people, what does that mean? What does a learning city look like? We said, you should be able to see it, you should be able to feel it, you should be able to touch it, interact with it, you should expect it, you should respect it. So with all of those sorts of objectives, the only way that we can showcase and celebrate that is to allow the outside in. Hence, festival. We set a target of 50 events across 6 days. Again, it was a bit of a target, a stretch, but we wanted to show ourselves and everyone that we were thinking big, we were thinking grand. We weren't just thinking 11 schools have an open day and the university has an open day. You do that now. What we wanted to show was learning in action, and we wanted to invite the outside in to participate in that and to experience that. But we had no money. As a learning coalition, we're not a legal entity. We've all got employers who pay for other things and ask us to deliver in other ways. So we had to be totally self-funding. We started chasing cash support, which means we had to convince organisations of our vision, of what it was we were trying to do, and our credibility to execute and deliver. Turns out we had to create a not-for-profit company, the Festival of Learning Limited, because if you're handling money, you've got to have somewhere to put it and to interact. So 4 of us are executives of that not-for-profit company called the Festival of Learning Limited. Myself and 3 principals, Angela Gooley, and Craig Schmidt and Penny Couch. The 4 of us are personally responsible and accountable for everything that happens underneath the Festival of Learning Limited banner. We're committed. I'm very proud to stand here today and say we are running a $250,000 festival. We have raised in sponsorship $250,000 in order to do what we're going to do over the next 6 days. Very thankful to Springfield City Group for coming on early as the platinum sponsor. But a very big thank you to all our other sponsors. Microsoft and Engie are major sponsors as well, and are 2 of the biggest companies in the world. And they're sponsoring us here in Greater Springfield, not only in financial support for the next week, both have committed to do long-term projects and activities with us. So that is sensational. But our local support, as always, in terms of TAFE Queensland, University of Southern Queensland, and UIL, and you heard the Japanese drummers bring us into the hall from their focus with international education. We're very, very appreciative of your financial support. Regional Development Australia, the Ipswich and West Moreton region, is doing great work with us on skills and jobs for our young people. So yes, schooling and education is very important, but what is the world that they move into in terms of jobs? So we're very thankful to RDA, Ipswich and West Moreton, and to Tourist Networks, who are technical people putting fibre connectivity into our footpaths and connecting us back to Brisbane and to all other data centres in southeast Queensland. We're very appreciative of your support. The schools themselves put in $2 per student as a commitment to raising the money. And it's very important that I acknowledge Ipswich City Council. We applied for and received a community grant from Ipswich City Council. So Greg and David, thank you very much. It's evidence that they understood we're building community, not just holding an event. So could I ask you to give a round of applause for all of our sponsors, please? Many activities have happened in the lead up to this morning. There's been workshops, there's been auditions, there's been the selection of finalists for events that are going to happen later in the week. And from that, the event committee and the whole learning coalition who met last week were very satisfied that we don't have to wait till Saturday afternoon to know whether this festival has been successful. It has already been successful. We are here in this room today. We have got multiple activities happening, and we have already demonstrated we can lower the boundaries between each of the schools. Before our guest speakers come to address us, I want to show you one small example of that, and hopefully by Saturday afternoon we've got 50 more examples of that. Springfield Central State Schools set as one of their events the development and performance of a Learning Coalition song. That is, create it, write it, have the students participate in it and deliver it. So only a week ago, 2 students from each of the schools came together for an entire day. We hired professional musician support, and I acknowledge Josh Arnold for his help in this. And we wrote and performed a coalition song. And I just want to show it to you. Thank you.
Together we stand, so every student can stand.